What's up, guys? Mr. Dan here. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another Martial Arts Monday review. My voice is a little scratchy today, so I'm going to do my best to get through this, but I knew I had to talk about this classic today. Today we're going to review The One Armed Swordsman, a 1967 Shaw Brothers film directed by Chang Cheh and starring Jimmy Wang Yu. A huge milestone film. It was a huge hit at the time. A massively influential film. A significant film in the career of Chang Cheh, who of course was one of the major directors for Shaw Brothers and influenced so many others. This is a new, bloodier direction for wushu films, and it also sort of solidifies Chang Cheh's preference for a kind of a male-dominated anti-hero to be playing the lead. Many of the swordswomen films before that were just that. They were swordswomen. You had people like Chang Pei, aka the Queen of Swords, would often be playing their lead roles. Chang Cheh was all about having the males up front, although there are some very interesting female characters in this, which we'll talk about. And of course, the archetype of the one-armed swordsman, I think, comes from literature in China, but after this film, you would have many, many others. You would have a direct sequel, The Return of the One-Armed Swordsman, and then you would have the new One-Armed Swordsman starring David Chang. Later, you would have the one-armed swordsmen, plural. I think there would be a one-armed swordswoman, and then you would have crossover films like the one-armed swordsman and Zatoichi, which sounds fascinating to me. And Jimmy Wang Yu himself would go on to direct The One-Armed Boxer. And as David West points out in the commentary for the film, you know, when you have a disabled hero, you're instantly kind of sympathetic to him. So it's a device that has been used many times, not just in Hong Kong, but around the world. Even the Hollywood production of Bad Day at Black Rock, starring Spencer Tracy, featured his character as a one-armed World War II veteran who's trying to find out what happened to a fellow veteran of his, and he runs afoul of some local baddies, and he actually has to use martial arts to beat up some of the underlings, including Ernest Borgnine. So yes, it is a device that has been used many times around the world. Now let's get to the plot of this, the synopsis here. Essentially, you have a fighting society called the Golden Sword Fighting Society, which is ambushed by a rival fighting society led by the Smiling Tiger. You know, his men ambush them at night and kill many of the students there and wound the master, Qiu Rufang, and his daughter, Qiu Pai is also a student there. And it's actually the servant, played by Ku Fang, who was in so many of the films in this Volume 3 box set. He plays a character very briefly in the beginning, Fang Chang, who rises to the occasion. He defends the school against the intruders, and he's mortally wounded in the process, and he has his sword broken. But as a way of showing his appreciation, Qiu Rufang says, I'm going to teach your son, who's standing there and who's witnessed everything, I'm going to teach him martial arts. So then we flash forward years later. The son, of course, is played by Jimmy Wang Yu. And there's a bit of jealousy because he kind of comes from the underclasses. And there's a lot of back and forth between him and some of the students, including Qiu Pai who is the daughter of the master. And they conspire to sort of ambush him and trick him in the middle of the night. And he kind of rejects her, and in a rage, she chops off his arm. Okay. And then he runs away. They track him down, and they believe that he's jumped into a river or a stream, more like a stream. These are all indoor sets, by the way, and they look great. I love it when they have little streams running through these indoor sets. And so Xiao Man begins to sort of nurse Fang Gang back to health, and he must adjust to a life now with one arm. He starts to help her out around her little farm, doing chores and so forth. And she actually doesn't want anything to do with conflict because her parents were killed in a dispute amongst martial arts schools, and the only remnant that she has of that is a martial arts manual, which Fang Gang will eventually use to sort of retrain himself and learn how to fight with one arm and a shorter sword. Fighting with a regular sword as a one-armed person, you know, doesn't quite work because it throws off his balance. And while all this is going on, these Smiling Tigers aren't done with our heroes quite yet. The Smiling Tiger, with the assistance of the Long-Armed Devil, who is a character that we don't see his face until about 3/4 of the way through. They've developed a a weapon to counter the swords from the Golden Sword Society, and it basically has a lock. So they lock your weapon, and then they draw a shorter knife and go after your midsection while your sword is locked. And so they've developed this. They keep it secret. They try it out a few times and kill some of the Golden Sword Society members, and eventually Fang Gang is drawn back into the conflict. And of course, what's interesting is it, remember, it was Q-Pai sort of, she's on the good guy side. She's the one that chopped off his arm. Well, eventually he has to rescue her from the bad guys. And of course, that is kind of a very odd thing because he doesn't have any love lost for her. And this creates a conflict between him and Xiao Man because, of course, as you can imagine, there's a little romance developing between them. And this Q-Pai character, she is a piece of work. She keeps coming at him like, oh, you don't want me? And it's like, bitch, you chopped my arm off, you know? So she is just like a piece of work in this film. She's like a very complicated character. And as the story progresses, the Golden Sword clan, you know, their members learn that Fang Gang is alive, and some of them are able to inform him about the special weapon that the Long-Armed Devil and the Smiling Tiger have developed. And there's an inevitable conflict, a conclusion to the story. And the Xiao Man character, you know, she just has to sort of resign herself to the fact that Fang Gang has to confront the baddies. And, you know, once again, they attack the Golden Sword Society headquarters, and that's just when Fang Gang arrives to save the day at the end in a very bloody conclusion. Very satisfying film. Looking at it through a martial arts lens, it's very interesting, you know, the different techniques. The fact that Fang Gang has one armed and he's already had to adjust his tactics and weapons means that he's already sort of prepared to go up against the bad guys who have this sword-locking weapon. Now, the whole idea of one weapon being developed to counter another weapon would be explored further in the 8-diagram pole fighter that was also written by, or co-written by, Ni Quan. And he was apparently upset that Chang Cheh had changed so much of his original script for this film. I don't really know how you can be that upset with the final product. It's such a classic. But he at least took that idea of a weapon being developed to counter another weapon and applied it to the 8-diagram pole fighter. So yet another film that was influenced by this film. Check out my review of that excellent film on the channel. So just to wrap things up here, guys, if you haven't seen this classic, I highly recommend it. You get to see the star power of Jimmy Wang Yu. This is a true martial arts classic. It works as a drama. It looks fantastic. You know, there are advantages and disadvantages to filming inside, and Chang Cheh fully took advantage. He knows how to use the indoor sets to full advantage. The film looks great. Shawscope, by the way, refers to the specific type of lens that they were using, an anamorphic type of lens that was developed in Japan. And the film looks fantastic. Highly recommend it. And let me just add one more final note. Just if you're interested in these films, but you often get frustrated trying to use IMDb, I've been looking for an alternative, and the Hong Kong movie database seems to be the place to go, because you get all the different spellings of the actors' names and then multiple pictures. Sometimes on IMDb, you don't even get a picture. Of course, you'll have all the films and everything. You can search by movie or people or company. This seems to be the way to go. It's helped me out tremendously in preparation for this video. So go check it out. And check out some more Jimmy Wang Yu films for sure. I'll be back again with the sequel, The Return of the One Armed Swordsman. So come back again. Let me know in the comments if you've seen The One Armed Swordsman and what your thoughts are. And thanks a lot. I'll talk to you next time. Later. And as you can see, guys, this is Mike's favorite Shaw Brothers film of all time. So go ahead and check out the Mike's DVD and Blu-ray collection channel. And I always appreciate the comments. Thanks a lot.